Okay, I guess this section, like we've alluded to, is more for the leaders. We welcome leaders and we welcome the members that are going to stick around as well. There is a lot of information that's pertinent to both. I guess I'll just a quick agenda about what we're going to cover here. First off is how to host a successful competition. I believe ours have been successful, and I will explain the format that we've used successfully in the southern region for the last 5 years. We started off with having about 50, 60 members show up, and it's gotten bigger each year that we've had it. We've had more and more members coming back by word of mouth, and it's nice to hear and see that kind of success. Next thing, we'll talk about the volunteer positions required. Many hands make for a smooth running competition. And then we will talk about the community engagement opportunities. I'll show you ways to involve local businesses in the competition. It's the more we can get businesses involved with 4-H, the better we have of getting support for our program. We have great members, and it's nice to, I just love being able to showcase what our members are doing and what they're capable of doing. Just a quick note, when I talked to the one fellow about the electric fencers, I started talking to him and he just kind of glazed over and wasn't really interested in at all in what I was saying. And then all of a sudden he started listening, and then he stopped me. He says, "You're teaching them something." And I said, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're teaching them something. And he says, "Oh, okay." And right now he was excited to, he was excited. He was excited to help out, and it went over very well. Anyway,
A
yeah,
nice thing
community
too,
engagement.
if I could just
Yep,
sidebar here,
absolutely.
Clancy. I know, so I haven't been a leader myself, but I've been, a senior member and I work a lot with 4-H clubs. It is these times right now, we're having an economic downturn. That's the reality of the situation. We are caught like there, this is an opportunity that is not financially motivated to engage with local businesses. We're not asking for sponsorship. We're not asking for dollars. We're inviting them to come and partake in a competition to see what our kids are doing. We'll talk about some ways for business owners or representatives to get involved the day of. They can showcase their products and just create these relationships, because that's really, no matter what the economic situation is, those relationships, the reputation of 4-H, being able to reach out in the community and create opportunities to connect, that is more important than ever these days. So my exciting thing that Clancy is going to talk about today is how we can get businesses involved in a way that is accessible, that isn't financially motivated, because you have to have other opportunities instead of just asking for money all the time too, right? And we all know that. So that's what I'm excited to share with you today.
Yes, always asking for money. I a fundraiser for the 4-H silent auction down here, and I just know when people see me coming through the door, they expect me to be asking for money, and it just drives me up the wall. But it's part of the system too. We need to take care of that as well. Anyway, let me explain the basic format of the consumer decision making competitions that we've been using in the South here for the last 5 years. First off, about a week before, usually on Monday before the competition, we send out our study guides. Any earlier than that, and they get lost, or they forget to read them, or they forget to look at them earlier or sooner, closer to the competition. We send them out to the leaders, to the club leaders, and then they pass them on to the members. There will be one study guide for each of the five classes that we will be judging at the competition. And the study guides, once, I can't stress it enough, the study guides are your friends. Please read them. Please study them. Okay, we usually have a short consumer decision-making workshop before the competition, then a quick lunch, and then on to the judging. We divide into 5 groups, one for each class. So you'll have 5 groups doing 5 rotations around. Once you're in the room monitor will read the scenario, Everyone is to stay away from the class for the first 2 minutes. Then you'll be allowed to get closer to the items and even handle them if the monitor says it's okay. At some competitions, members will be judging each class, ranking them, and giving their reasons later. We do all of that in one shot at our competitions. Aaron, did you ever go to any that you had to go and give your
That's,
reasons later on in the day?
that's the only kind I've done. I was so excited to hear about your format in the South, Clancy, where you do everything in about a 20-minute package, because I did consumer decision making for the first time when I was 11 years old, and it was so intimidating to go through and be very critical and making my rankings and all these things, and then having to press save for 5 different classes to then go and stand, and there's 11-year-old me, my knees are knocking, stand in front of the judge trying to remember all the really important reasons for 5 different situations. So this is way easier.
We're pretty easygoing in the South. You know, we don't like to pick on little girls. So yeah, we're
Oh, Clancy.
pretty laid back when it comes back to it. You know?
We have a quick question.
Anyway.
We have a quick question, which
okay.
I think is a good one to chat before we get going into explaining this 20-minute rotation. Tracy's asking, are the kids allowed to bring their study guides with them to the competition for use during their decision making?
Absolutely. We actually, and I refer to it later on down, that we actually have copies of the scenario that has been read, as well as study guides in the room that they can look over and glance at. And that, like I said, we're pretty easygoing. We want our members to excel. We want them to do the best they can. Yes, not every competition allows it, but it's worked for us quite well. We have members that are excited about going there, and they're excited about doing it. And if we start picking on little girls, they're going to be scared and they're not going to want to come back. So simple
and I
as that.
think this is something as well that you could scale depending on the type of member. So if you have a bunch of juniors that are, brand spanking new, you're trying to make sure it's accessible. You're not, trying to have them memorize a bunch of stuff, or having that in the room as like their Linus blanket, their little safety net that they can go and remind themselves what they've read. That to me is the larger thing at play here, is us providing a really valuable learning experience. And then as they become intermediates and seniors, then there are different expectations. For example, they're memorizing their reasons. They're not reading them off their little card.
Yes.
Probably wouldn't have the study guide in the room. So it's scalable. And like Jody said, it just depends on the competition.
And like I said, we like keeping it simple. We like people coming back. We don't want them to come and say, I hated that, and just never try it again. Anyway, and that's the nice thing about it. Anyway, let's move on. A 20-minute rotation. We usually have each group rank and give their reasons in 20 minutes. We give 2 minutes to get from one room to the next, and that doesn't count. Then 2 minutes for the scenario to be read, and the members have to stay away from the tables or from the products for 2 minutes before they can move in closer. Then they have 18 minutes to judge and give their reasons. And really, like I said earlier, usually you have your placings within the first 5-10 minutes, and then you'd have time to practice your reasons a couple times and then get up and give them to the judge. It needs to be in 20 minutes, and we do have to push the members, but also they do need to finish. So if the 20 minutes is up, they're going to have to still give the reasons and still catch up. And the member wrangler will have to push them to get done sooner in the next room. Anyway, 2 minutes to read the scenario and 18 minutes to give the reason in a nutshell.
So we had a really good question too, Clancy, as you were going through this. We had a question about how many per group. So if we have 5 classes, we've split them into 5 groups, but how many kids in a group to allow a judge to hear all the reasons in another 20 minutes. So I know this is something we'll talk about as we're talking about the amount of people that we need to make the day run.
Yes.
But
that is a good question. And right now we haven't had over 100 members. You take 100 divided by 5. What did we learn? Comes up 20. So you'd have about 20 members in each group. Of those 20 members, you'd probably have 6 or 7, 8 juniors, 6 or 7 or 8 intermediates, 6 or 7, 8 seniors. We try to keep the groups as even as possible. So each of the reason markers is marking about the same number of members. Lots of times you will get a lot more juniors than you will seniors, but a lot more times the seniors you should probably try to mark a little more carefully anyway than the juniors. It's a little more difficult to mark the seniors.
Yeah, so
That's what we've done.
just to
If
clarify, just because
okay,
like your explanation totally makes sense to me, but I wanted to make sure I was clear that each class has 3 judges, 3 reason takers, and that's 1 judge to hear out the juniors, 1 to hear out the intermediates, 1 to hear out the seniors. That's so.
And I do cover that. I do cover that a little later here.
Absolutely.
So, but what was I going to say now? I forget what I was going to say. So we'll continue.
Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt. I was like, your explanation totally made sense to me, but
Yeah.
just to be very clear that again, for each class, you have 5 or 3 different judges, that we have 1 for each age group. So kind of like the way that we
So
split up public
basically,
speaking.
what I was going to say was rule of thumb. If you find that you have members that are taking too long, if the group gets too big, you can always add a few more minutes in. It might take a little longer. We've run close to 100 members and we haven't had a whole lot of problems. You do have 1 or 2 seniors that are doing a really keen job, and they will practice and practice, and then at the 19-minute mark, they'll all want to give their reasons. Once they do that once, we tell them, you got to pick up the pace here a little bit. But if we get more than 100 members, we might have to add, a couple minutes in. And that's just the way it goes. The 20 minutes has worked very well for us right now, but it can be changed as well. Okay, this is just fun, yeah. We did a chainsaw class back in 2017. We even had a theme song. And if you have a chance, you should go and check out the Lumberjack by Jackal a little later. It's a pretty cool song. They actually use a chainsaw in the song. It's really cool. Anyway, that's just a lot of fun that we had. Many hands. Okay, the MC timekeeper. We usually have 2 people for that. MC timekeeper. We usually use 2 ambassadors or key members, and they share the duties as the MC and timekeeper, keep each other company, and they do things together. They're the ones that make all the announcements during the day, and they do most of the talking when it comes to presentations, to the the final placings and all that stuff. They keep the competition on schedule and make the announcements as required. The volunteers at the registration table, we usually use current 4-H members, and they're usually the ones that are willing to do just about anything for a diary point. And we have 1 for each age group. So 1 for each age group, not for each class, but for each age group. So that's junior, intermediate, and senior. And once they will, when the members come in, they will give their names and tell them who they are, and they will pick up their numbers. And it'll be the same number all day. They have their number, and they will get their cards with their classes on them as well. That's what the registration table takes care of. They're also still eligible to compete because their jobs are done before the competition starts. And I usually have an adult overseeing the registration table as well, just in case there are some problems. So, lunch organizers. We usually feed everyone at our competitions. That's one of the things when I start emailing businesses and that, I say, you come here and you help us out with this and we'll feed you. And it's usually a very good meal. We have an excellent cook down in the south there that has worked a lot of camps, and we really put on a pretty good feed. So usually I ask that leader or another leader to oversee this. I stay out of the kitchen, but usually we have 3 or 4 volunteers for that as well. Virtual, I guess we don't need to worry about it. You're in charge of your own snacks. So room monitors. We need a room monitor for each of the classes that's being judged. They're the ones that read the scenario to the members and answer any questions that arise. As long as they don't give away the placings, they can, if the member has a question about one of the products, it can be answered. Then we have, so that would be, we'd need 5 in when we're running 5 classes. You need a room monitor for each class. Same thing with member wranglers. We need 1 for each group as they go through, so we need 5 member wranglers as well. They keep track of the members and try to keep everyone to finish on time, make sure that they finish on time. If they don't, like I said earlier, they push them to keep going. If a competitor does not finish in the 20-minute time limit, they still need to finish giving their reasons. They'll just have to catch up after. If somebody, they need to be in control of, they need to know where their members are. If one has to go to the bathroom, make sure that they come back. That's so. That takes care of the member wranglers. And usually member wranglers, we usually grab parents that are there that day and get them to bring everybody around. It can be alumnists or key members, no problem there either. But anyway, then the office staff. 4 volunteers works very well. One of them is a card runner, and what they do is between the classes, every 20 minutes, they will go around to the judges or the markers, and they will pick up all the cards that the marker wants to give them. Sometimes markers will keep a couple back so that they can just remember what a good set of reasons sounded like. You know what I mean? And they get the cards back to the office, and then the office is in charge of tallying everything up, putting it all into the computer and deciding who places first and everything. That starts as soon as the first class has been judged and they start getting cards in. When we're going to get together for this, we do need a photographer, somebody that can go around, take pictures of the class, take pictures of the members judging the classes, take pictures with our thank you sponsors and everything, and the whole group and our winners as well. It's nice to have that record for the event. Then probably our most important ones again are the reason takers and the judges. We need 3 volunteers for each class, 1 for juniors, 1 for intermediates, 1 for seniors. We try to assign the most experienced judges to the higher levels, and we invite business representatives to also take reasons if they want, and mark reasons as well, or they can sit in and listen to the reasons. The more we can get businesses involved, the better. One thing to note is a reason marker cannot mark their own kids. So if they have members at the event, let's say if they have a junior member there, they're not allowed to mark for junior reasons. They can do intermediate or senior. If they still want to volunteer, and they have members in each one of the age groups, you can ask them to be a member wrangler or something like that. Or sometimes even they can help at the office. Anyway, that's about it. Any questions on that? Okay. What's our next slide then? Okay. Recognize that boot there, Aaron?
It's the damn muck boot is what it is.
It's the damn muck boot. The darn muck boot, yes. Yeah. I said the actual scenario said which boot, not which cowboy boot. But yeah, I really got yelled at for that. But hey, the truth hurts sometimes. Anyway, that's just fun. Anyway, let's talk a little more about the community engagement now. So the first year we held a competition, we had great feedback. The only complaint that I heard was that the classes were boring. It's not fun to look at pictures of a toy. Why couldn't we have the toys there? Well, since then, our competitions have not been boring. We try to get a sponsor for each class, and when practical, we try to have the actual items there. And this is where the businesses get involved. Decide on the items that you would like to judge, and then talk to the businesses that carry these items. Stress that we are not asking for money or a donation at this time. We are only asking them to supply products for our members to judge and for everybody there to see. We're asking them to bring their products to our competition and showcase them. They get to show them off. It's an advertising deal, eh? We don't put one business against another. We never have Ford versus Chev or anything like that. It'll be all Fords or all Dodges or all Chevys that we judge. All the items in the class come from the same business. The items don't necessarily have to be the same brand, but the business has to sell them. They have to come from the same business. I don't want to be putting businesses against each other in a situation like that. Once the business understands the competition, ask them to help make the study guide and the scenario. Some are happy to help, others are a little more reluctant. But even just going there and interviewing the business to get the correct terminology and definitions and to ask them what to look for when choosing the items is very helpful. Try to keep the study guide short, no more than 3 or 4 pages. It helps keep the members interested. Any questions about that? Once the businesses have agreed to supply a class, invite them to participate. They are the authority on the product. Who better than to be your room monitor? Even if they only read the scenario to the competitors, they are still participating. And if a competitor can ask them a question, they can answer it. It's great as well. Once they get to the competition and see how it works, they usually want to get more involved. We always allow for business cards and signage identifying the businesses. The businesses should make or have a say in the final placings of the class. Once again, they are the authorities on the products, and they should know which one would be the best for the scenario. Talking about scenarios, I like to make the scenarios as real life as possible. We use the businesses and the person's name, and if they have a sale or some kind of connection to the community or event, I put that in the scenario. One time we were judging rental units. In the scenario, a 4-H member was choosing a pair of jeans from a Western store. And we were actually judging the jeans in another room from that Western store. She mentioned to the store manager that she was looking for an apartment to rent while going to college. The store manager's sister-in-law was a real estate agent, and she helped the girl choose the best rental unit for her needs. How much more real can you get than that? We actually had and it was all true. And the real estate agent, she brought the rental units and set up pictures and everything, and it worked out really well. But that keeps it real. The family cruise here. Expedia sponsored the family cruise class in the fall of 2016. One of the options was the Centennial 4-H cruise that took place in October of 2017. Of course it won, and Expedia also won. They sold over a dozen tickets to the cruise that day. So it worked out very well for them as well. Okay, the archery bow class. Big Dog Outdoors was really impressed. The fellow that was there from Big Dog Outdoors, he says, these kids were asking questions that I hadn't even thought of. And he says, and they were using the correct terms. They obviously looked at the study guide, read the study guide. They were very impressed with it. And like I said, it cost them a little time, and it didn't cost them any money. So, yet. So, that's about it in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
I'll just
Any
bring us back
comments?
so we can see everybody's faces. How about that? That'll help us out. Okay. Ooh, we did it in only 11 minutes longer than scheduled. So, I mean,
How many
you
of you
have,
remember Romper Room? Romper Room was a TV show on when I was a kid. And at the end of it, I see so-and-so, I see Tracy, and I see Shannon, and they never saw Clancy. And I watched them, and they never saw Clancy. It really ticked me off. So anyway, go on. I see Donald.
oh boy. Yeah, so feel
Anyway,
free to come on back and, you know, if you don't have any questions, if that was enough for you today, you can jump off or we can stick around and chat and discuss. I know I would be interested in opening up the floor because we have only 42 people with us now to talk about the idea of hosting a virtual consumer decision-making event. Like if people have ideas or have suggestions, or maybe that's an opportunity for us leaders now to sit and chat about the possibilities with that if we have a few minutes here that we want to stick around.